being
Take it
live
easy.
streamed.
I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream, which is down the block. But ladies and
Yay!
gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, our next guest, which we're doing this as a fireside chat, and some of the audience will be buying some books. Buy some books, damn it. But it's timely that we are doing this because of there's some film called Scream 7 out. I know there's been some mixed reviews, whatever. It is what it is, but our author, Mr. Maroney, has a book called It All Began with a Scream. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you? How's
Oh, I'm
everyone?
breathing. So,
Welcome.
yes. So, I'll ask the obvious layup there before we get going and let the fans ask because I can only do this while I have battery, sadly.
Hmm.
So, have you seen Scream 7 and what do you think?
I have seen it, and the way that I have been describing it to people is, has everyone seen the movie Clueless and know
Yeah.
the quotes from it? I've
Yes.
been using the line that Cher says, that Amber's a Monet, that from far away it's great, but up close it's a big mess. Um I mean it lovingly. Um I
That's
think,
perfect.
yeah, I think it's one of those that if you sit back, shut your brain off, don't think about it, it's really fun, but it doesn't always hold up to scrutiny.
Hmm.
Um, when you start to try to analyze certain parts of it, I think it gets a little messy and doesn't
Yeah.
always fully. What's ev
Absolutely.
what's everyone think of the movie?
Oh wait, are we talking about Scream 7?
Yes, he just
I
mentioned
think
Scream
that
7.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you
I
for
think that
mentioning
you
me, Bob.
I think that
Oh,
you just I think that you just absolutely nailed it because yes, it had moments that were like, oh, that was really cool, you know? And I mean that tap scene was one of the best ever.
that's a banger kill scene.
The
All
the
right,
beer tap
so
scene was one of the best ever. But when you try to but like you were saying, when you try to put it all together, it's like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, has
yeah,
everyone here seen it? Are we okay to do spoilers
yes,
or
we're good.
Yes, go
It
for
reminded
it.
me of my buddy
Go for it. I've
Valentine,
already
the
warned
first one.
everybody. Go for it.
okay? I
Well,
think that and the theater scene, that it's another kind of cool scene.
Mhm.
Um, you know, there's a lot to like about Seven. Um,
Right.
okay,
No,
what happened? No.
no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I love this franchise so much, and even like there's a lot of people that don't like three. I've always really enjoyed three. But it wasn't until this film that I really just think they dropped the ball. And I agree with you entirely that people need to shut off their brains and stuff when they watch this, and they can still enjoy it. And I will say I had a great time watching this open at night with a full auditorium. Everybody reacted to the movie. It was a blast. But there's also this piece to me that's like this franchise has always, there's been a quality, there's been a maintaining of a certain quality to me. And this one just felt so forced because they really took the marketing all about Stu and all about going back to the original. And the marketing campaign was excellent. I mean, it sucked in so many people, and I'm happy the movie has made so much money, but it didn't really do anything to earn that. Let's go back to the roots. I mean, yeah, they use a lot of the same soundtrack. There's a lot of throwbacks. There's tons of throwbacks, but it's like to me, even like Scream 5, which I absolutely adore. I love 5. To me, that earned more going back to the original than Scream 7 did. And I think that has a lot to do with the whole the unjust Melissa Barrera firing. I think that script was more fleshed out, most likely. And this was just like something that Kevin Williamson came up with very fast. It's like, well, we got to do something, so we did this. But that's
well,
just me.
well, Guy Busick did write the original draft and had carried some of it through to what we see on screen, before Kevin wrote anything. But I think you hit on an important thing. I think that, for pretty much since 3 or 4, there's always been some people that haven't liked the sequels, but I think it's a lot louder this time because of expectations from the marketing with the whole burn it down, um, and that it goes back to the original that people were expecting, especially with the big announcements of Stu return or Matthew Lillard returning, David Arquette returning, Scott Foley. I think by having that, it really set up certain expectations for people, and that's why it's been such a loud reaction that we've heard from people that don't like it or don't like parts of it. They've
Right.
the marketing created certain expectations that weren't met.
You're entirely right. I agree with you 100% on that. I agree with you. I probably wouldn't have felt as offended by it if they just would not have, you know, wrote that marketing campaign around, going back to its roots. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean to dive into, potential theories for Scream 8, but I know that Kevin Williams did an interview, I think it was with Variety recently, to where he said that there was originally a post-credit scene to where Stu is alive, but the test audiences were against it. And to me, if that were the case, I think I agree. I think it's not so much that Stu's alive that the test audiences are against it. I think it's because they spent that whole movie, you know, thinking, oh, it's going to really happen. And then it's like if they throw that in the credit sequence, it's a little bit insulting to the audience because they're like, okay, you've kind of, gaslit us in a way. You've kind of been like, okay. But no, I think the movie is fun. I think I agree with what you said about going into it, just turning your mind off and not picking apart. It's a fun Scream movie. There's fun scenes, and I'll even say the Chad and Mindy scenes. I love Chad and Mindy from 5 and 6. I adore those characters. I actually like their scenes. I just don't like the fact that they'll get literally brutally butchered, and then they'll somehow miraculously be alive in the.
Yeah,
But then
I don't
again,
like the
that
fact
turns.
that they're immortal.
Right. It's like, okay, he's been stabbed how many times? I know Mindy only got like stabbed a little bit in the fifth film, I think. She was like
Mhm.
not really bad, but Chad was pretty roughed up. Um,
He was kind of
so while I love the
oh,
characters, it's like you can tell this bias from the writers. Yeah, we're keeping these characters alive.
Well,
Um,
I think that's one of the issues that the franchise has had from the beginning, starting with Dewey, is really that so many people are live from movie to movie that, the big thing with 6 was no one of importance died. There was the only actual like character that wasn't a ghost face that died outside of the therapist was Anika, um or Annika. Um, and it's kind of the same in 7. I mean, they had a big body count of 10 people or so, but it was all the new people. So you had everyone that was returning who lived, plus Sydney's daughter, plus Sydney's husband. So you just keep adding to the number of people that are survivors in
mhm.
each movie. That it's kind of like, okay, at this point, like some of them are just never gonna die, and I think that takes a little bit of the fun out of the movies because there's no tension.
Right,
Right.
it does because they're gonna make it through it, and I agree with you about 6. Like 6 was a fun movie, but it
Mhm.
almost in certain ways felt more action oriented, and it was only body count characters that got killed, and it's the same thing with 7. I like to call them body count characters because you obviously know when they're introduced, well, that guy's probably gonna die. And don't get me wrong, I don't expect Sydney or Gail to die, nor do I want that. Like I accept them as characters that are basically immortal. Um, but I don't know. I agree with you. It's like I think some of the core four should have died in 6. And Chad and Mindy don't need this whole immortal complex, even though I do love the characters.
Mhm.
Um,
But
but yeah, no.
that was kind of what was important in Scream 2 when Randy died, was that it was a character that was a fan favorite that they
Yes.
killed, and it kept people. It keeps you guessing at that point. If they were going to kill Randy, who else was on the chopping block? I mean, Dewey was originally supposed to die in the first and the second one.
Mhm.
You know, so and I think that was actually kind of smart for them to do in the fifth one because it came back and by him dying, it's who else is possibly
Right.
going to die. Like you don't have as much plot armor as because let's be honest, Matthew, like you said, Sydney and Gale are, not going to. Most likely Tatum won't, Sydney's daughter. And
Mhm.
the fact that
No.
they kept her husband makes you think like they're really not going to do anything to her family because Sydney has suffered enough. So right there you're back to a foursome plus Chad and Mindy. So that's six people. And I mean some horror movies only have six characters.
Right.
So so it really they're painting themselves into a corner where, you know, one of my biggest things with Seven was there's just too many characters.
Mhm.
I think that's why you have the issue that people have with the reveal is you didn't spend more time with the people who ended up being Ghostface,
Right.
because there are so many characters that are in it that they're trying to service.
All right, if
Exactly.
I
You know,
can,
one of, I'm sorry.
Bob, Mr. Wood, Ray, Latrice, if you want in, let us know in the chat, and please let us know in the chat about the books, because I know a few of you said you want your
Oh, I
books.
I want to buy a book right now. I
All right,
wanted to
just
grab actually both of the hardcovers of both of the
all right.
books.
So I put the Venmo in the movie or in this chat right here for the Zoom link for that. But Bob, you were going to say something. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just going to say I completely agree with what you just said because that was one of the things that made Scream was the not knowing. You know, you love these characters, but you know one of them's going to be offed. You
Mhm.
know, and which one's it going to be? You know, or who's going to go next? But with what they've built, it's like that's gone. That tension's gone. You know, it's just going to be a nobody.
And that's why I've joked around that I think what they need to do, because each of the movies have had minor characters like the sorority sisters from the second one, the
Mhm.
cops from the third one. They should almost do what the escape room movies did for the sequel and get everyone who has survived a Scream movie and have the motive be that someone is trying to make the ultimate finish everyone off type
Yeah.
thing so that it's everyone is of importance because we've met them before. So you don't
Mhm.
have so it's you might have some new characters, but you have 20 characters that we've all met and or liked, hated from previous movies. So it ups the stakes immediately. And then it's like who's gonna get picked off because it's all people that we know.
And I really felt like that's what they were going to do with Seven. It
Right.
sounded it sounded like that's the direction they were going to go, but no.
I have to ask a question that I think is very valid to this topic. What do you think about Stu's return? I know in a recent interview that Kevin Williamson said himself that he believes that that may be jumping the shark. However, as we've previously talked about in this discussion, I mean, there's a lot of things that may have jumped the shark. How do you feel about Stu Macher's even potential return in eight? Do you think it's a valid theory? Do you think it's worth doing, or do you think that the people just need to let the whole Stu Macher is a live thing just go, just let it go? That's the
Um,
thing.
I will say I have firmly been in the camp ever since people really clung on to the idea that was leaked for the third movie that since it wasn't used in the third movie, too much time has passed for Stu to be alive.
Hmm.
Um, I call, and I don't mean this in a derogatory term, I mean it lovingly, but I call you Stu truthers that think that Stu's alive. Just because they've said in multiple movies now that he's dead. So I think to bring him back would be such a retcon that you start to get into like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on
Hmm.
Elm Street, Halloween territory.
Halloween.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah. And
No, I said this to Bob and everybody. I said they're not going to do it. They're not going to actually do it. This is a great marketing campaign, but this is obviously AI, and that's really sad because like we live in the AI generation. I totally had it pegged. I was like, they're gonna go AI because that's the world we live in, and you can do that in this day and age. Did they exaggerate the capabilities of AI to a great degree? Absolutely, but they did use that. You know what I mean? They totally used the AI thing, and which was
Mhm.
kind of interesting. I didn't just hate it.
well,
There were actually some things I loved.
let's be honest, Scream has exaggerated the capabilities of a lot of the technologies that they've used. Like, according to the first few movies, we should all be having our phones spoofed repeatedly. I've never in 30 years have really heard of that outside of the Scream movies. I didn't, so there's just some things that I think they take liberties with, and
Absolutely.
that's the world that they live in, which
Mhm.
I'm fine. Like, for movies, you do accept certain things, but yeah, I think that they do exaggerate a little bit on some of it.
Mhm.
Of course.
So are all of you excited though to see a Scream 8? Where do you
Very
kind of
much.
fall?
I am beyond excited. I love this
I hope
franchise
there's
so much that if it's on Scream 15 or Scream 20, I'll be there opening night no matter what. I am just a diehard fan of this series, and I just want to see it go the best route. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to see it stop because look at how much money this movie has made. I said it before it came out. I said this will be the most profitable one. Of course it is. The marketing campaign is amazing. The fandom for this franchise is so diehard. I am beyond optimistic. I will be there for Scream 8 opening night as always. I just love the series. I'm just picky, you know.
I
Um,
I'll be there. I just won't be as okay and as enthusiastic as about seven, because seven sucked me in. They sucked me in with the bringing it back and all that,
Well,
And
sorry, go ahead, Bob.
no, 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 and they
I was just
sucked me
gonna,
in there. So I
I was
won't
gonna,
be as excited, but I will be there.
and I think that's one of the things. Like every Scream movie with Sydney, they always say that it goes back to the original.
Yeah,
And four it was don't fuck with the original, and so
that.
I, what was that?
I just said I love that. I always love that line. Don't fuck with the original. I love that so much.
Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of you have to not take it at like word for word, like it's more of a
yeah.
feeling, or it's not, I'm blanking on the word, but don't take it, verbatim. Take it more as like the idea of.
That makes sense.
Right.
That does make sense.
No, because I mean, in so many ways, so many different Scream movies do kind of go back to the original. So yeah, you're right. You're totally right about what you said. I agree.
So go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
We
sorry.
got another question.
Go ahead. We're
So,
good.
what is the best Scream sequel in your opinion? What is your favorite sequel?
So for me, I like to do it
Thank
based on
you.
the ones that I watch the most. Um,
Mhm.
Mhm.
so I'll watch probably four more than any of the others. Just because I find it a lot of fun. I find six really fun. So I would say like four and six are probably the ones that I just have the most fun with. Um, you know, it might not be the popular answer, but that's what I kind of enjoy.
I I love that. My favorite sequel is Scream 2 or is 2. It'll be hard for another sequel to come around and stump that, but I mean, the fourth movie I think has aged like fine wine. You know what I mean? Like it's just the way that like they had the whole social media aspect of things that has aged really well. And Jill
Four has
is
only,
amazing.
yeah, four has only gotten better.
Four gets better with age, and Jill Roberts is one of the ghost faces that I will put up there with the originals. Not, I mean, like, okay, the gold standard ghost faces are Billy and Stu. I'm not lying. I'm not saying that because it's the first movie. It's because they are the best ghost faces in my eyes. I love the reveal in the second movie. I do. It's just
Matthew,
in four.
let me ask you this. What is it about Stu as a ghost face that you like, though?
I think Stu is the perfect sidekick Ghostface. I think that he is like some of his dialogue, like he still kind of conveys that he's kind of still a kid, just with a lot of problems in the way that like he says like my mom and dad are
My
gonna be so
mom.
mad at me. That's
Yeah,
so weird. That would be the least of your concerns, but for him he's still a child, like he's still a kid.
hmm,
And then he says it was peer pressure. You know, what's your motive, Stu? You know, Billy already said his, and then it's like it's peer pressure. I can totally see Stu being so manipulatable
yeah,
that Billy could get in his head, and I think Matthew plays that beautifully. I mean, you hit me with the phone, Dick. You fucking hit me with the phone, Dick. Excuse me. That line is so gold. That's improv. That is
Yeah.
improv.
It is improv.
I
You did
think
that.
Stu is
Yes.
the perfect uh beta ghost face. That's why I love Stu.
Well,
getting woozy here.
I
I'm
think
feeling
Stu is.
cozy here.
I think Stu is gullible.
He's
well,
very gullible, very much.
well, so that's why I wanted to ask because everyone loves Stu, but a lot of times most people hate Charlie. And really, they're the same type of ghost face. They are
Yeah, they
both
are.
very,
Yes,
Very
they
much,
I
are
always
the
thought so.
sidekick that got
very
talked
much.
into it because they
Well, the only
were,
thing about Charlie is Charlie was more quiet than Stu
yeah,
was. Stu was more
Mhm.
outgoing, and Charlie was not. He was more introverted.
yeah, but as a
Charlie
ghost
feels
face,
rejected.
what was
Um,
that?
I was gonna say Charlie to me feels very rejected. It feels like that he was rejected by his childhood crush, and then she starts to take an interest in him. Kirby is who I'm referring to, of course.
Mhm.
Correct.
Takes an interest in him years later, and he's not willing to take that. And I think somebody like Jill manipulated him in thinking that he's somebody that she's interested in, but she was never interested in him. She used the hell out of him. Jill manipulated
Uh-huh.
Charlie like a
Hmm,
puppet.
hmm.
But
Well,
that,
But Charlie's
essentially,
a great ghost story.
Jill was the Billy character.
yeah, that's
Because
the
Absolutely,
thing.
Billy
There,
did the same thing to Stu.
Exactly.
absolutely.
and I think that's why I was asking because it just a lot of I'm what I wonder and I go back and forth. Is it that people actually like Stu or do they like Matthew Lillard?
Well,
And
it's. I
Well,
think.
that's a
I
good
think.
question.
I think as far as character driven, I like Stu better because he was more. Uh, he was bigger. He
Mhm.
was. He was bigger. He was more present. Um, where the, not behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Not so behind the scenes and quiet. He was big.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was definitely involved in a lot of it. He wasn't just, I mean, he was in the costume a few times.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I've watched this franchise to a point that I've kind of pegged in what scenes who's in the costume if I can. Like I've watched every movie so much that I can kind of peg who was in what scene. Like I can obviously establish that I believe that Billy killed
Well,
Casey Becker
yeah, I was just
without a
gonna
doubt.
ask. I was just gonna ask, who do you guys think killed Casey? I do think it was Billy. I do not think it was Stu. I do think that he called her. but I
I
don't
think
think
it
that
was
Stu killed her.
Yeah, I think it was Billy.
Actually,
Yeah,
I think
they were both definitely taking part in Casey's.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Carol can bear to string her up in the tree.
True.
Isn't it such a fun franchise to talk about? Like, I don't know. I always love these discussions talking about this franchise.
Hmm.
Well,
Well,
let me ask this because I had to switch my phone back and all because of the Wi-Fi. But in case I missed it, I apologize. Obviously, you guys discussed some, good and bad of Scream 7. So we'll start with our guest and go to the fans. Is there, and I had a suggestion during one of our watch parties the other night, and I was referencing the Saw series, where in Saw 10, they said they kind of went to his, or not, excuse me, Jigsaw, where they went to his gravesite and we're trying to say, story wise, trying to prove was Jigsaw really dead, da da da, all that stuff with what they were doing with the storytelling. Could they do something like that because of the complaints of Stu being AI in 8? Do something where you physically to try to, rebound the series or whatever, if you will.
For me, I think that and I don't want to say that they need to rebound from 7, but I do think moving forward, distancing itself a little bit from the original um movie, it would be smart in terms of opening things up more.
Hmm.
I feel like with burning down the Mocker house and everything else, that they've kind of mined Woodsboro for almost everything that you can. But I think it would behoove them to move on from Stu and Billy as integral parts of upcoming movies.
If I may, the one thing that I did notice in 7 that could lead to them actually bringing Stu back, um, it was the differences between the AI pictures and the pictures that they received on the phone. Did you notice that?
Wait, can you say that again?
There were big differences between the AI pictures, that they were showing and showed of Stu, and then the ones that they received over the phone.
The interesting thing about the AI Stu, I'm sure everyone has seen those photos that have floated around of what supposedly he was going to look like back in the day.
Mhm.
It feels like they used those as the jumping off point of what Stu would kind of look like.
Yeah,
So that was a fun little Easter egg to the fans, I think. Um,
but but what I got there that leaves them a path if they want to take it,
mhm.
because they could say, well, the AI Stu didn't have the scars, the real one did. So
But
That
he
is
the
so true.
they
wait,
could use that argument to say, he's still alive. We showed it.
I
wait,
mean,
sorry,
look at this.
I
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that I follow you, Bob.
Okay,
The phone call AI Stu had the scars.
right. But when they showed the montage and all that of the different ones, and he was in there, he didn't.
At
No,
the
at the
end.
end of the movie, he had no scars. Okay, when Sydney's going through her house and
Yeah,
there's all
okay.
the
I just
different
wanted.
TVs, he has no scars at all. But at the beginning, it's almost like it's actually Stu. Like it really is. And to me, my idea is that's what Kevin Williamson was going for. And I wouldn't be shocked if he went for it. You know what I mean? Like I really wouldn't, because it's like, okay, yeah, he put it in the credit scene originally, but the test screening didn't test right. That tells me that when he conceived this story, that he had it in mind that Stu was actually alive. And the whole theory with the scars, I mean, heck, there's even a shadow that you can see during when Sydney when Stu calls Sydney, and the very first time in the coffee shop, and he's outside of the theater. You can see the shadow. You can literally see the shadow. Did they put that much thought into it? That may be a stretch, and maybe we're overthinking it, but yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying there. I totally get what you're saying, Bob. Like,
Okay.
it feels calculated.
It just feels like they left an out for it.
Well, I think any good storyteller will tell you to usually leave an out when possible.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It does. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think, and that's kind of the why I kind of cringed when I saw Kevin do that interview, and Matthew Lillard has done interviews saying that he thinks there's still a chance that Stu could be alive. Um, because it kind of takes that the film is um definitively saying that Stu is dead and has said in the last few movies. And I think it toys with the fans' emotions, and expectations that
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
that and for Matthew Lillard, I don't think it's ever meant maliciously. I think they're having fun, but I think it creates kind of a weird thing within the fandom.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it does. I mean, because they didn't really end fueling the fire that Stu is still alive with Seven. I think they fueled it even more because okay, his body was going to the morgue, yet there's no records of it ever reaching the morgue. There's all these different things, and okay, Jessica's motive made about no damn sense. And I don't even know what Marco's motive, Ethan Embry's character, was, and Carl, who gives a shit. But I mean, it really is like, okay, I could totally see them covering for Stu. Like, I think Scream 7 has fueled the Stu fire more than ever. It's just that for the next film, they can't use that marketing because they have milked that teat dry with the 7 marketing. You know what I
So
mean? Like, they can't really do it.
so
Yeah,
I would
exactly what you
say, sorry, I would say that Jessica's motive does actually make a lot of sense. Um, I think the way that she communicated it was clumsy,
Yeah.
and I don't think she fully had it thought out with the Tatum part of it. But when it boils down to it, what it was is that Jessica was a fan and had this social relationship with Sydney. And after reading her book, it gave Jessica the strength to leave her husband. And then when Sydney sat out of New York, it was a disappointment that Jessica took personally. Like, you are supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be defeating the ghost faces. How dare you not do what we expect and want you to? And so that's why she's like, we're now going to move on to Sydney 2.0, and I'm going to create Sydney 2.0.
By
The
killing.
the thing is that I think the way she communicated some of it was a little clumsy. And
very, very clumsy because what you just said made sense. What she said made no sense.
well, and
About that.
it's funny. I think if you look at the motives of these last three movies, it's been
Mhm.
about toxic fandom, parasocial relationships,
Yes, it is.
and it, you know, it's the world we live in. Look at heated rivalry, look at Swifties, look at, pretty much any singer, they have names for all their fandoms. It's very much something that we live in that world now, and
That's
there's
true.
so many people who have these parasocial relationships with actors and athletes that, my one question is, in 5 or 10 years, when we look at this movie, is it going to be that they are holding up a mirror too closely to some people, that they don't
Mhm.
want to see that reflecting back at them? Kind of similar to Scream 4, where, you know, it was before its time. And with this, is it something that it's very of the moment, but we're not going to know for years what the outcome of these parasocial relationships are, and are they toxic for us, are they bad for mental health?
Mhm.
That is the most clever explanation of Scream 7 that I've actually heard, to be
Absolutely.
honest. It really is. That's very interesting. And that is a very valid point, because I certainly noticed the toxic fandom nature of many different fandoms revolving many different things, revolving around many different things. I certainly noticed that these days. It's just like Scream 4 definitely had that, to where like the whole, the social media playing into it. It certainly feels more relevant today. Scream 7, I think, to me, will always have this. That's that's a cool way to look at it. You know what I mean? Like it, but to me it just felt like a random motive that they just concocted very fast, and then just kind of were like, okay, yeah,
So,
this is what we're going with. But that's just me.
so I only have a few minutes left because I have to go into said venue for an event tonight. But if anybody has grabbed a book, I know, John, you said you're gonna hit me up because I think
No,
there
I'm
was a
I
little.
am actually glad you mentioned that. I was going to, I just don't know how to use the barcode thing unless like I have my
Okay,
camera out.
I don't have a
it
phone.
is
That's
in
why I
the
haven't done it
chat.
yet.
Pat, Mr. Maroney put it in the chat for John, and I think I'm not assuming anything. John's gonna hit me up later because of the Canadian. He's on the across the border, so we will get that taken care of for you, John.
Thank
But
you.
I'm assuming that's what you
No.
meant. So
Well, I'm very
Yeah,
interested in buying a book. I just
Yeah,
don't know how to use
I'm definitely getting one.
okay.
I
Do
just
we
put
want
a
to do this
Venmo.
on air, or how would we? Would you guys like to have this done on air, or do you guys want
it.
to?
Can be done off, either whichever's more
Yep.
convenient.
Okay.
I know your
I think
battery is
off's the way to
dying.
go.
It's
For me
not
Do
personally.
it
like
all
that.
because my wallet's inside.
No,
Okay.
I'm going to send you a PM, sir. Private message on Facebook.
Okay, he
That's
just put it
okay.
in. He just put it in the chat as well here.
if
So
if you're gonna
Oh yeah.
do it offline, just put your email in the Venmo transaction, and then I'll email you to get all the information, and we'll go from there.
all
Oh,
right,
rock and roll. Thank
Thank
you.
you
right
for
on.
doing that. That's
And
awesome.
thank you for coming here and chatting with us today,
But
because I have been
Yes,
dying
thank
to
you.
talk about Scream 7.
okay,
It's been
I
a
want to
pleasure,
ask a
bro.
question for the group, and I want to start with our guest as well, because John mentioned this in the chat. Thank you, John. When he met Wes Craven back in '08, and apparently Wes was quoted, excuse me, for number one being the most polished out of the ones he was involved with at the time. Is the Do you think Kevin can polish everything up from 8 on? And we're not trashing any of the movies. Do you think there's a certain polish that, or is it not that Wes Craven polish, if that makes sense?
Well, I think the part of why the first one was the most polished is they had a script that was written on spec, and it was ready to go when they started.
That's
Um,
what I got out of it.
yeah, like everything since then, it's been a little bit more of a work as you go type situation. Or at least for the 4 movies that my book covers, they greenlit the movie and were going into production 6 months later and had to have a script. So they had to have Julie Plec go down and work with Kevin in Wilmington to make sure that they had a script, and then it got leaked. For the third movie, they had an idea, Columbine happened, they had to scrap that. Kevin couldn't write it anymore. They had to bring someone else in. They had a set time when they were filming, so they were writing while in production. So I think, and this one they had a script being written, then things happened with Melissa. They had to take them out. Nev Campbell came back. They had to rework the script. There's a whole Variety article that the rewriting of the script was, they did $500,000 worth of work to rework it. So I think that's kind of why we haven't gotten as polished of a Scream movie, if you want to say.
Well,
That
let
makes
me throw this out there. Can they bring in Marissa and everybody who left this project, the latest film? You think they can work out differences and bring them back for future installments?
That is a great question, Jonathan. I'll give you credit there. That's great.
That was going to be
I
mine.
wonder that myself.
I want to say never say never. Because look at Jamie Lee Curtis. Never say never that she came back and did Halloween H2O, and then what I like to call Unabomber Laurie in the reboots. But I think that there would have to be a lot done to bring everyone back, because of just how public the situation has been, and
Right.
you know how high the stakes have gone, and the back and forth. So I want to say that I will never say never, but I don't know that it would happen.
It's probably not going to happen.
Answer.
My question in reply to that is, why in the last, what has it been, 20 years, have people started giving a damn what actors think about politics? Why is that so important now?
It shouldn't fucking matter.
Why can't they just be entertainers and entertain? And we don't have to know who they're voting for, what their politics are. This should have never happened with Seven.
I think I don't think it's a new phenomenon. You had Jane Fonda in the 70s, with
True,
Vietnam,
with Vietnam, yeah,
and Rob Lowe getting caught at the Democratic convention in the 80s. And so it's not a new thing, but I think with social media and everything else that has changed in the world, it's just that's how we are as people now, for better or worse.
It's ridiculous. They're entertainers. I just don't. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry.
No, you're
There's a
right.
Nirvana
I
song
mean, you are
happening.
so fucking right. You are 100% correct.
Yeah. And to put a bow
I
on
agree.
things, I would agree
Melissa
with Bob.
Barrera should not have been fired.
No.
Most certainly not.
I might not agree with your politics, but I unless you're a complete fool, I'm not gonna. I'd rather sit and have a drink with you, and it is what it is. Or if you're an
Yeah.
entertainer or whatever, I'm not gonna hold it against you unless you're a complete fool. But that's a whole nother conversation for.
Let's get along.
What's
Yeah.
up, John?
Yeah, but
Let's get along.
the asking
Peace.
about politics on the red carpet thing in interviews, that's just, good God.
Yeah. That's
What
a
kind
good.
of ambush is that shit? I mean, really?
Mr. Maroney, where can people find you social media wise? And I noticed you changed your handle as well. So it looks like you got a baseball book in the works as well.
No. Is there a photo?
No, we look like with your name on it on the IG.
On IG, it's just
Baseball
based on a
book.
book by Patrick. And it's just me ripping open my blazer and my Superman type
Oh, okay.
post. I think I might have, because baseball is coming up, I might have on Facebook posted a photo with Cole Hamels, maybe.
Okay.
Um,
That bum. What did
so-
he ever do?
but yeah, Instagram is where I'm the most active. Based on I'll actually put it in the chat. And that's a variation of that is pretty much my handle across all social media. Twitter, BlueSky, Threads, Facebook. I have an author page. It's just my name. I can be found pretty much anywhere that you're on social media.
Right on. And so everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, Padraic. Thank you again.
Thank you so
everybody,
much.
grab the book.
Thank you for being with us, sir. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you for shining some light on 7.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody's
That